Welcome everybody. Episode 2 of Achaji. I didn't think we'd get here because of her. But we're back to episode 2.
Monday, guys. Monday, I'll post behind the scenes, and you guys can be the judge of it.
Quick recap.
Yes.
We talked about colorism and racism.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to talk about the mishandling of Islam in many different contexts. So, from family all the way to general community. Right. One thing that I did want to talk about today was like how much mishandling of Islam affects generationally from a family. From my experience, I did for me, as like I said before in the previous episode, I did say it's all wrong for me. It's all like messed up. Right? I don't see a lot of good coming from
Cultural
application of culture. Because for me, the application of culture meant the mishandling of Islam, which is why we're talking about this topic today.
Yeah.
Their application of culture, or any South Asian family's application of culture, meant that they weren't applying Islam correctly because they thought they were applying Islam when they were applying the culture.
Right.
So many like relationships within the house got ruined. Right. So we had like experience with like parents saying like we shouldn't lie.
Yeah.
Right. But there was instances in culture where our parents did lie.
Yeah.
Right. Like basic example for me was that if somebody came to the door and they didn't want to talk to that person, they would tell me to tell them they're not here. Right. But they would emphasize for me to not lie, which was like counterproductive.
Right.
But from like a generational lens, the idea of mishandling Islam.
Yeah.
Are there some examples that you have seen in terms of severity? For me, there's like severe mishandling and misinformation, and just completely butchering the teachings.
Of Islam.
Yeah, and then that affects the practice of the person that's experiencing it too. So people tend to hate Islam. People tend to kind of be put off by it.
Yeah.
They either think it's either too strict, they think it's not for them, or they just go heavily into the culture and completely ignore any sort of life morality altogether.
Right. You know, the first thing that comes to my mind when you talk about like any kind of extreme toxic example of using Islam in a light where, but it's under like cultural disguise, right? You're not exactly practicing Islam. It's more so a cultural. They give like a cultural lens. They look at it through a cultural lens. Was abuse in marriages. That's the first thing that came to my mind, and I mean it in the context of a lot of victims of abuse, male or female. I've seen it. They're told that applications have set.
Do you think there's male victims?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
In an abusive marriage.
Yeah, because I don't think that people like speak about that. We can speak about both, like what like abuse.
There are male. There are definitely male victims. I think it's more like from like I can only talk about the examples I know. But it's more from a perspective of like a lot of, for example, emotional abuse, even verbal abuse to some extent. Physical abuse, I'm not saying it's not possible, but unfortunately, I hear more physical abuse from a female's perspective, like
Yeah.
right? But there is abuse. Males are also victims to abuse in a marriage. And I think, yeah, like you said, we don't talk about that enough. Which I wonder why.
I think this is where like the mishandling of religion or Islam comes in, because people want like within any relationship, whether it be like husband or wife, family, friends, brother and sister, whatever. People usually talk about rights and duties, right? They simplify it too much. Like, and people can tell me if they disagree, but I think relationships are like a little bit more complicated than that, than just a list of rights and
Also,
duties.
just like gender roles, like that's the emphasis, too, right? Like that you gotta do this. Like this is all the male does. This is all the female does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think when that's what they live by, because I've seen some people live by that list.
Yeah.
Right? And because they live by that, like whether they speak to each other or not, right? So the guy might feel like, okay, the guy in his relationship cannot extend a helping hand because he needs to be doing this himself.
Right.
He should be doing this himself.
Right.
Right? And the emphasis on the fact that, okay, I'm the guy, I should be doing this. So I shouldn't go to my wife and be like, look, man, I think I need a little bit of help. I think we need to work this out together and just come to a solution or some sort of, adapt to it, sacrifice whatever you guys have to do. But that's the conversation. I don't think that happens, where it's a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more like complicated than just, okay, I should be doing this Islamically. Right? You can talk to each other, and then each individual case of a husband and wife is different and handled differently. I've barely seen any type of conversation. And the conversations that I've had with, at least from the guy's perspective, it's always, we have to do this, right? We have to like provide. And I'm not disagreeing, we don't.
Yeah.
But there are situations that we might not be aware of in different marriages or in different like lifestyles, people like in different conditions or different contexts of their life.
Yeah.
They just might have to handle things differently at that stage. And then once they get to maybe a different stable stage, then maybe the automatic default is, yeah, the guy provides. Right? But this is where the misinformation for me comes in.
Right.
Where like, okay, people, and this was a snippet I heard from Sheikh Bilal Asad too. He was like, a lot of people treat relationships as if they're in a court. Right? So they're like, okay, whether that be your husband and wife, friends or brother and sister, they treat it as if they're like already inside an Islamic court or a court. We're like, okay, this is what I need to fulfill as a Muslim man, or this is what she needs to fulfill as a Muslim woman, and this is just, that's it.
Right.
It's very simple, basic, black and white.
Black and white.
But
that's what I was thinking.
I don't think that kind of leads to more problems than it does to solutions.
Yeah, I think a very black and white approach to anything will always lead to a lot of problems. There's always a middle ground, and like you said, we focus a lot when it comes to, and I think this very much comes from culture, like the gender roles, what we've been told from like our parents, grandparents, their parents, that, this is what a husband does, provide, bring the money in. This is what the wife does, clean the house, raise the kids. That sort of thing I've always heard. And I've pretty much grown up seeing that, within like my family and like my extended family, even like with my family friends and everyone. That's the approach. That's kind of, and I don't know how that's justified from like an Islamic lens. How do you think they justify it from like an Islamic lens? Like this is how it should be.
To me, it's a very dangerous thing to do. The only reason I say is because we're not keeping context in mind. So I never think, and I've been like I've had the problem dealing with this too, where it's sometimes when a situation presents in front of you, especially if that situation is like difficult to handle, the context kind of gets blurred and you just start applying rulings, right? The only reason I say that's dangerous to do is because like you said, you can't put a blanket statement on heavily contextual situations, right? Like almost like the majority of the situations that we fall into are heavily contextual.
Right.
Like heavily contextual. I can't tell you something or give you advice on something without knowing you, right? Without knowing not just even the context, how your reaction to the context.
Right.
This is part of hikmah and wisdom in terms of knowing the context of the person, because each one of us, being believers, speaking Dutch as Muslims themselves, we shouldn't be intentionally meaning like having ill intent for one another, right? So you want to be able to interact with another Muslim in the best way possible. One of those best ways, and we do this with non-Muslims, or we'll do this with anything, is that we try to understand where they're coming from. But we don't do this with each other, right? With each other, we apply the ruling before we apply the understanding, right? So because applying the understanding takes a long time. And before, when I was newly studying Islam, applying the ruling was an easier thing to do than to apply the understanding. Because you want people to get to your end result rather than maybe work with them for 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5 years if it has to, just to make sure that, that relationship between a Muslim and a Muslim, that we're both on that straight path and we're doing so consistently rather than just aiming for another end result, right? This, I think, is kind of absent. So culture for me kind of takes away that element. So now for culture, the reason I relate this back to culture, because a lot of the times within families, this is kind of like misconstrued, right? The reason it's misconstrued because culture usually takes the side of like a more relaxed approach to spiritual or religious issues. Then there's people who study the religion, and then those both things interact. And then it's just like a like whole sort of like advice, like back and forth advices, and there's no like middle ground, and people end up like this side ends up disliking how strict they think Islam is, or what you can and cannot do, and they mix it up with culture, and then this side labels this side as sometimes misguided, you're too relaxed or liberal, whatever be the case, right? And then these labels get thrown around, which these labels do not exist within a Muslim and a Muslim, right? Because we're supposed to care for one another regardless of what they think. Like, I can't out you because you think differently. I have to understand you, because at the end of the day, if you say the Shahada, I can't out you. Like, really, Islamically, I can't. This applies everywhere. So this heavily context is like a rule of thumb. This, if you apply this on every context, between a husband, wife, friends, brothers and sisters, parent and child, everything. You can't go straight to a reactive outcome. Right. So if somebody comes and if I come and tell you something that you're taken aback by, you're not going to be like, yo, what the hell is wrong with you? Right? And then that becomes like, okay, no, you shouldn't do this, you should do this.
That's so interesting, because that's the first thing they teach you in school for therapy. I don't see, and I see the application of it in professional settings. And when I say professional, I'm talking very like clinical therapeutic settings, but then I don't see the application of it within like you said, like between like believers, between like Muslims. Because as again, going back to the point we're trying to make, like I think culture really blurs that application of what exactly Islam says about people bring you their problems, or if there's a problem going on, how to solve it. Culture is very reactive. Islam is understanding. That's where compassion should come from. That's where we should be open to understanding why people are living a certain kind of lifestyle, why they're struggling with the kind of things they're struggling with.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of the times, the culture aspect, it kind of blurs your application on Islam. So you have children. If the children come to parents, like I've experienced this person. If I go back then, if I went and I had a legitimate issue, to me, to a child, it was like, okay, it's a big issue. And if I take that issue to my parents, cultural response is heavily reactive. It puts me off. Now I don't want to talk to my parents at all.
It's very reactive.
One of the main issues I think that we had, speaking to our parents about getting married or having somebody in mind, and then bringing up that conversation, which stems from, okay, if we say we're Muslims, and people are like, you're suggesting a Muslim, right? You're like, okay, I have this Muslim, like, which is wild to me. Like, you're suggesting a Muslim, and if your first priority is, you said you're a Muslim, your priority is Allah, your priority is Jannah. But then culture steps in and says, but I don't think you're gonna be able to be compatible with their culture. It doesn't make sense to me.
Islamic one doesn't make any sense.
like you would adapt.
Yeah.
Like
even if you are marrying someone from the same culture, you guys are still going to have to adapt. You know, it's not just going to be smooth sailing. There's no way. You're still going to have to adapt. You know, to each other. And I think it takes me to the, like, I just remember the, what do you call it, like caste system back home, you know. People are so worried and so specific about, like, oh, we have to marry within a certain kind of caste, which I've never understood. Like, we're not even anymore talking about, like, not even the same race, caste. There's so much division when it comes to, like, these things, but yeah, like, I think a lot of people can relate to the marriage topic of, like, how when we brought up the topic of marriage to our friends initially, and how they sort of, like, for example, for me, my experience was they were very reactive. Like, and unfortunately, a lot of people can relate to it. It was a very reactive sort of tone, and a very reactive, like, oh my God, how can that ever be possible? Yeah. Which I find very interesting, because later on the years, they're just like, wait, why don't you have anyone? And I'm just like, so no, everybody. It's like, why do you? Anyway. Like, I understand. There's some scholars would suggest that, okay, marrying to the same culture, same environment. Yeah. I get it. I'm aware of that perspective. Yeah. I understand. But yeah. This is a very big. I can't even finish that. But like in terms of being raised in a particular place, right? For example, I'm from Pakistan, but I was raised here. Yeah. I grew up here. Yeah. So I'm not gonna be I'm gonna gel less with somebody from back in Pakistan, right? Like, I'm used to traditions here. I'm used to the culture here. Yeah. And then I what do you call it? What's the word? I filter. Yeah. I filter what of my culture is through Islam. Yeah. Right. So I don't let any of the culture that I follow, the tradition that I follow, like blur the lines of me practicing Islam. Yeah. Right. So when it comes to things that I learned growing up here, it's more like it's from a secular perspective. Yeah. Right? It's not necessarily from a specific religious perspective. Right. Like in the previous podcast, I spoke about, if I were to go back to Pakistan, they would see me as a foreigner. If I'm here, they don't see me as one of them. Right. Like, here, I get it. I learned some of the traditions, whether it's my dress code, whether it's everything kind of confines and everything kind of conforms to the Islamic understanding of what I'm practicing, regardless of where I am. Right. And that is out the window. Yeah. Because if I let's say, for example, if we're sticking to the marriage aspect, yeah. If I'm marrying somebody and I marry somebody that I'm compatible more with here than more so back home, yeah. I have the ability to take Islam forward. Right. Right. And in some cases this might be different. People, like, I've seen in a lot of cases where they take cultural values forward. Right. And when they take cultural values forward, they meet obstacles. Right? So when the misinformation or the mishandling of Islam here is when they equate taking cultural values forward to taking Islam forward. So I've heard a lot of guys being afraid to raise their kids here, because they think the culture here does not match the Pakistani culture. Right? Because they can't adapt to it. Yeah. But Islam is kind of rectifying that for you, where Islam isn't asking you, or you shouldn't even be worrying about where you are when what's going to go forward. If you really believe that your belief is strong, if you believe that Islam is strong, and no matter where you are, your belief is strong, your religion is strong, why are you so afraid of this idea that your children are going to grow up messed up? Because there's messed up areas everywhere. Yeah. There's heavily messed up areas in Pakistan. I would tell you, I have a hard time following Islam in Pakistan than I do here, because I'm questioned more, I'm judged more, I'm criticized more. I'm like, it's just all out just negativity when I try to practice there.
that's like a gross misunderstanding of Islam, where everybody I speak to, they're like, okay, we should let's just go to a more Islamic friendly country, which I don't understand what that means, because then that seeps into everything else. Then that seeps into people's decisions of who to marry. Because of the mishandling, they're leading their life by fear. So like, okay, they don't want this to happen. They don't want this to occur. So they're gonna behave a particular way. It's no longer confidence in your way of life. Right? It's no longer okay. I don't need a specific culture to direct an Islamic upbringing or to direct a relationship, because I have Islam. Yeah. The culture is there as an identifier. Like, okay, this is how I am. Yeah. To we at the end of the day, we have groups, we have people we're comfortable with, we have people we hang out with. Some people are close to, some people are not. Might not be like, I'm not necessarily really close with guys from back home. Yeah. Right? That doesn't mean I don't like being around them. It's just I'm not that. That's my identifier for a culture is different than their identifier, right? But that's all to me. That's where the line of culture stops. Like, I just an identifier. After that, any moral decision has to come from Islam. If you're saying you're a Muslim, it has to come from Islam. If it doesn't, then you've mixed the culture in. Not being properly informed about Islam, yeah, automatically makes you lean towards something that you're more comfortable with. Right. And unfortunately, that thing is culture. So when you're not properly informed about how easy Islam can make your life, then you always gravitate towards culture, and that makes your life 10 times harder. It's made my life 10 times harder until I realized, okay, Islam is really not what people are making out to be. Right? Yeah. It's not really that difficult. It's not here to make your life harder. It's to make your life easy, for sure. Yeah. But people like coded Islam making your life easy as watering down the deen, right? Scholars do not agree with this idea of like this watering down the deen concept. It's making Islam easier for people in different contexts. Like, not everybody's on your same level of iman. Not everybody's on your same level of life experiences. Not everybody's on the same level of information and knowledge you might have, right? That's true. Allah is aware of it. We can't behave like He's not. He's not, yeah. Like a lot of the, especially the younger guys and the guys that I have, like that I know in my circle, we behave like Allah is not aware of people's situations. And then we try to play that part, which is very dangerous. We try to play the part, okay, you should do this because Allah has said this in the Quran and you should do it. But we're forgetting the part that, okay, Allah is already aware of the person's situation that I'm talking to. So I need to be a little bit more like considerate and care and take a lot of care in what I'm about to say right now. Approach it, yeah. I haven't seen this application in our in like South Asian culture. Yeah. It's just very straight. There's a lot of judgment. Again, coming from that reactive side of things, right? It goes straight to like, how they say ha, ha. How can you ha? What is it? Ha hi. Ha hi. Yeah. Ha. Yeah. That those statements, like, I know we're making a joke out of it, but like, those are very harmful statements, because then what you're doing is you're shutting that sort of route for people to come and ask for help, for example. You're shutting off that route of people sharing their problems or being vulnerable, which is all components that are very important in Islam. You have to show that compassion. You have to let people, help people from where they are. Don't try to change you can't change their situation, first of all, their past experiences, and you have to meet people where they are and lend them a hand where they are at the moment, instead of trying to control it. Like, what, how can you do that? That's so, coming from a judgmental place, it's never helpful. And like Fahad said, it pushes people away from Islam, because then the idea is that, oh, this is what Islam is then. Like, how do I practice a religion where people are not showing me any compassion in the name of religion, But okay, what would be some examples of like
like this sort of blurred lines of like cultural seeping into like cultural disguised as Islam.
One like very very terrible example is when like and this is the reason it's terrible is because it's seeping into younger generation, like our generation, that it's seeping into how we perceive marriage to be, like what's our idea of marriage and how we are inside the marriage.
Okay.
Right? Like I got married very young. I got married when I was 21. Right? My perception of marriage at that very point wasn't like it wasn't my wife. My focus is not my wife.
Right.
Your focus doesn't shift. My focus before marriage was Allah, and after marriage is still Allah. My behavior, because of my focus on Allah, benefits my family.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to ignore the rights of my family if my focus is Allah.
Yeah.
That's the side effects of the main goal. Like if people tend to go focus on their wife culturally, and they forget the greater, or they're not wife specifically, like spouse,
like their spouse, yeah.
right? And then they forget the greater goal, right? The greater goal of like we're supposed to be together as Muslims, and we're supposed to accomplish something greater. We're not here for our spouse, right? We're not here for our children. We're not here for parents. We're not here. These are all responsibilities given to us, but culture kind of amplifies them to such an extent where we forget about the actual purpose.
Yeah.
Right? So culture kind of amplifies the idea of serving parents, for example, to such an extent where it's just all information about Islam, all respect, all honor, all boundary, all in terms of like rights and responsibility you can equally distribute to every single aspect of your life goes out the window, and it's just whatever a parent says they do, even if it hurts your spouse. Right? Then there's no fair judgment. Then the opposite side happens, that okay, as soon as you have a spouse, they're it. This is the person. Everything is centered around the spouse. I'm going to listen to the spouse hands down, without any sort of conversation, without any sort of discussion, and there's no like discussion about, okay, maybe as a husband and wife we should do something like greater. We should aim for something bigger. And a practical example of this is Dr. Abdurrahman al-Sumait. You guys should search him up. He studied, him and his wife both studied. His wife was a teacher, he was a doctor.
Okay.
They had a conversation, like a genuine conversation with one another. And his wife asked him, is this it for us? Is this all we're gonna do? We're gonna just go to work, come back, and that's it. That's a discussion they had amongst each other. She said, I think we're meant for something bigger, something more than this. So they took their expertise into Africa, into villages that didn't have education, for example, didn't have a hospital, didn't have Islam, or did have Islam. And the reason this started is because the Dr. Abdurrahman went and he saw Islam being mispracticed. They were committing zina in the masjid. So he went back, and him and his wife had this conversation. Like, okay, we need to be doing something more with our time and with our effort and with this expertise that Allah has given us. They took it there. His wife taught everybody there. She became a teacher there. He established hospitals. He established non-for-profit charity works. He established masajid. This is without the intention of actually giving da'wah towards Islam. He didn't. This wasn't like he specifically went and started talking to people about Islam. He went there with the intent of helping everybody, right? To establish kind of an infrastructure for them. Because him and his wife had this conversation. They worked together for years, and he went through a lot of problems. He had a list of diseases. He had to go through a lot of sacrifices and filth to be able to do things, right? And there's a lot of instances where like a lot of what he had to sacrifice and the way he approached things, it was like it's almost like miraculous in nature, right? So when he approached a village chief, and in that tradition, when a village chief converts, the whole tribe does. Right, but the village chief asked him, and that was in a region where rain didn't come in for a long time. Right, so the village chief asked him, if you can ask your God to bring down rain, then we'll convert to Islam. So he went to the side, he made dua to Allah, and he asked Allah, like, look, don't let my sins be a barrier for these people to enter Islam. Short a while after, darker clouds started coming in. rain started pouring down, the chief converted, and so did the whole tribe.
Oh, wow.
And they did this effort for a number of years. Because of them doing this, over 11 million people in the continent of Africa became Muslim. And they had established infrastructure. They had hospitals, they had masajid with imams propagating Islam correctly. They had schools, they had universities, they had everything. And this was because the husband and wife had a conversation like, we can't be just living for each other. Right?
Like a bigger purpose.
Yeah. And culture just destroys all of this.
Destroys all of that.
Like, we're just going to live for each other and establish our own life and have nice standards in life, and then that's it. Where every other couple could be them.
Yeah.
That's 11 million people. And this is without the actual intention of, this is the intention of just helping a part of the world.
Yeah.
Right? And that's one couple we know about. Or not barely anybody even knows about them.
Yeah.
Because he died at the same time.
First time I've heard of them too.
He died at the same time Steve Jobs did.
Oh.
So people have heard more about Steve Jobs' death than his.
Him.
Right? So this concept is kind of forgotten because there's nobody giving correct information how to apply Islam practically in our lives, and then people resort to culture. Like, okay, I don't want the stress of applying Islam, so I'm just going to resort to like the concepts that I'm comfortable with. Like, okay, we're just going to live our lives as husband and wife. We're going to document our life. We're going to document our milestones, and we're just going to raise our standard of living without any focus on a higher goal. That's heavily cultural. I don't see that in Islam. I see if I'm focusing on Allah and we're focusing on an external goal, a greater goal, the automatic symptoms of that is, I will be kinder to my wife. I will be nicer to my children.
Right.
I would have a community around me. That's the greater thing I'm aiming for.
If you have that like proper foundation, you automatically translates into like all your relationships and stuff.
Yeah. Like if I focus just on my wife, for example, everything else is going to be ignored.
Right.
Like, because I'm not focusing on the overarching goal, the greatest goal that tells me to focus on everything else.
Yeah.
Right. Parent to child is one of them. If my idea, and this stems back to how the reactive nature of parents, for example, when we talked about when you take somebody to them. If my own daughter today came to me with the same thing, my overarching goal is, okay, as I'm alive, as long as my soul is wherever it is in the process of life, my aim is still to please Allah. So if my daughter came to me with somebody, my reaction isn't going to be reactive.
Yeah.
It's going to be the opposite. Okay, let's go have a chat if he's down to have a chat. Like, this is like...
That's the proper way anyway. And I hope, I always say this, like we all, like, our generation went through different things in different contexts, whether it was like religion, career, whatever else it might be, right? Where culture took over. Like we didn't see the Islamic application of things. Culture took over because unfortunately that's what our parents were taught. And it kind of just like, got passed on from generation to generation. But I really hope, like, we've learned a lot of things, like in different contexts, in different ways. People I know, people we've all gone through experiences. And I really hope moving forward, when inshallah, like our kids grow up and, because there will be problems, different kind of problems, the way society is going to be different kind of issues. I really hope we can all foster and implement a more like compassionate way of dealing with it instead of a very reactive cultural way, because it doesn't help. Causes so much damage on an individual level and also just on like a familial level. Like your relationships get damaged. Even forget everything else. Even your relationship with Allah gets affected a lot. That's the most important. I think that's the most detrimental aspect of just following cultural blindly without any basis of Islam in it.
This is a forgotten sunnah, actually. To not let your mood affect your character. And I think practically, I know everyone has a fear, and sometimes fear overtakes your desire to like practice, put the Islamic principles into practice.
Yeah.
But I think even if it's little by little, and like in small places here and there, I think you should choose to implement an Islamic principle more so what you're comfortable with. Right? Like just little by little. Doesn't have to be a massive choice from the get-go. It's just wherever you can, just choose that path.
Yeah.
Because it is a choice. Like it's not like I've seen a lot of people choose the culture side, and then when they keep on choosing the culture side little by little, they don't make huge decisions. They just make those small, comfortable choices until it gets to the point where choosing anything other becomes uncomfortable. So like when I have these conversations with the circles I have, they've chosen Islamic and the cultural comfort for so long that they think the Islamic solution is just outlandish. It's wild, too wild to actually implement. We can't get to that point, at least with our generation.
Yeah.
Right? This will cause more problems and more damage than solutions.
Yeah.
This is taking Islam down the generation in a fear-based manner.
Yeah.
That never happened. This is unprecedented in terms of like you have to prove taking Islam down on a fear-based system from a child all the way to adulthood is beneficial.
Yeah.
It's that fear base is from culture, right? We don't explain to our children concepts about Islam because we ourselves don't know much.
Yeah.
Right. Which was fine. Okay, for the generation before us, that was less in our control. But now,
yeah.
it's more in our control.
Yeah.
And if my daughter comes up to me and asks me questions, I need to be able to explain Islam to her. Because my priority is, okay, I need to please Allah, and I need to please Allah with my treatment to my daughter. It's all interconnected. Culture just gets me to raise a righteous daughter. Culture doesn't even know what that means. Like,
oh, that's another topic. I think we just found another topic.
Next topic. We should write these down.
Yeah.
But yeah, culture just says things, but it just goes like, trust me, bro, you gotta do this.
Yeah.
Right?
Just trust me.
Like,
I'm gonna damage your life. Just trust me, though.
It's like, I think we have to like just consciously make the choice, no matter how badly it hurts, no matter how like sometimes there's very difficult situations, but you just have to make the choice for not yourself, but for the people that are gonna come after you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is a blueprint. The Prophet ﷺ set up this blueprint where he had to make difficult choices, not for himself at that very moment, but for the people that are going to come after him.
Yeah.
Right? It's because of those difficult choices we have Islam today. Like, this happens like on a minute scale with all of our lives. Yeah, I think in the concluding note, I think like just don't run away from these choices.
Yeah.
Like, you have to genuinely analyze if the way you're living in all of your relationships is it culturally influenced, or can it be dissected enough to understand, okay, what's the actual moral behind it? Right? Because I don't think culture ever gives you any sense of morality, and it makes it, even whatever morality that you do have, it makes it worse.
Yeah.
Right? It's great to identify each other with, like, oh yeah, this guy's from Pakistan, this guy's from India, this guy's from Bangladesh or whatever it may be, but it's not something to decide how you should behave.
Yeah.
Because it stems into like the last topic we talked about was racism, colorism. It stems into like mistreatment of our children.
It stems into everything.
Yeah, mistreatment of parents, mistreatment of spouses, like mistreatment of other people in general.
Yeah.
Like it all goes, which we're gonna like go into detail in future episodes. But I think I just wanted to like preface every coming episode with the overarching themes that are gonna kind of be consistent in every episode. Right? Like, we'll have episodes like inshallah potentially with my parents, discuss with them with how they went from how they thought to how they think now.
Yeah.
Right? And the generational change and what it took. So I want you guys to see practically what happened from in the lives of parents who thought heavily culturally, and how they came to the ending. Okay, now culture is nonsense.
Yeah.
Right? And we'll have that, and we'll see the overarching themes will stay the same. Right? Their lives got ruined. Children's lives got ruined.
That's the thing, right? A lot of, when you sit with parents, and even with my parents, for example, a lot of their ways of thinking have changed. They don't come from a very cultural point of view anymore. There's more like basis of Islam in it. But there was a lot of damage in reaching to that point on an individual level, even for them too, like the struggles they went through to eventually get to a point like later in life and be like, wait, all of that was just nonsense. There was no basis to it. We didn't have to do things like that. And it's sad that you realize a lot of these things after a lot of damage has been done, because you can't go back and change anything, right?
Yeah.
But again, like Todd said, the hope moving forward is that whatever experiences we've all learned in different ways, in different contexts, they become a proper sort of survival guide with a lens, with a foundation of Islam in it, not a foundation of culture in it. And yeah, that's pretty much, all the topics that you thought said. A lot of our topics are going to be focusing on that, how to sort of get out of that cultural domination in a lot of, our mindsets and our perspectives, and having a more Islamic basis and foundation to it.
On that note, this has been, we didn't introduce ourselves. I didn't even say my name in the beginning. This has been Rafi and Fahad. It's gonna be
Yes,
like,
I know by now.
that's crazy. What? That's crazy. They know you by now.
It's Rafi and Fahad. Peace out.
Okay, bye.